There are a lot of churches out there that sometimes avoid talking about human sexuality and its complexity. When you look at it closely, you start to see that sexuality is no longer black and white. There are layers that need to be uncovered and understood in order for acceptance and love to be at the forefront. Here's the deal. God created us. God said we are good. We are good. And simply put, sexuality is part of that goodness. And this really jives with the God I understand and know. The God of love, the God that created our bodies just as they are. The God of deep and abiding compassion has never been and will never be. A God who shames us for delving into those layers of sexuality and finding the true depth that lies there. I also want to uphold that I believe God is a God who wants us to be in sexual relationships that build each other up and don't tear down. God wants partners to act in mutual consent and for dignity, wholeness, and the worth of all persons. God wants sex to be something that is full of life and goodness and not done to hurt another human being in any way. When sexuality is used as a weapon against someone else, this is not an act that God would condone. When sex is used in a selfish, irresponsible, promiscuous, degrading, or abusive way, then sex is no longer an act of God. So that's how I understand God when it comes to sex. But when it comes to living that out as communities of faith, it can get really twisted up. We do things that cause harm. When people in churches use sexuality and sexual desire as a test of someone's worthiness, straight up, it causes harm. When people in churches say that you need to deny a central part of yourself in order to be one of God's people, it causes harm. When people in churches say that what you are doing is okay in private, but then shame it publicly, it causes harm. When people in churches refuse to listen to their people and refuse to apologize for past hurtful behavior, it causes harm. The way of Christ is much different than that way. The way of Christ walks with people and tries to understand them. The way of Christ listens and recognizes the pain that many individuals have gone through. The way of Christ realizes that we alone don't have all the answers. We can learn from each other and the paths we have walked. Our faith is a long journey toward understanding the way of Christ and living it with our whole selves. It's important to remember that human sexuality is a journey of self-discovery. It is another way by which we connect with creation and with God. It is a journey with struggles and difficulties, but God is with us, you and me, all of us, on that journey. God has called our bodies and our sexuality good. And God helps us to discover who we are, even in the midst of discovering it for ourselves. May we, as a people, not be afraid to walk that journey of sexual self-discovery, both in the church building and outside of it. Community of Christ's sexual ethics statement was a source for many of the things I said today. You can find it at seaofchrist.org or in the description below. As always, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to comment, like, or share.